welcome to the EFM Today Podcast. My name is Zach Roberts, and today we have with us in the studio Brother Stephen Hight, President of EFM. And recently, Brother Hight took a trip to Egypt, and we're going to talk a little bit about Brother Hight's trip to Egypt today. Brother Hight, Egypt is our first mission field, started back in 1905, if I remember correctly. And this has not been your first trip for you, but it was the first trip for your wife.
That's correct. I've been to Egypt about 3 times before this trip in December of 2014. And my wife surprised me, actually, by calling me one day before I got the plane tickets and saying, "What would it be like if I went with you?" And I said, "Wow, that would be great." So she had her very first taste of train rides, for example. In fact, it was her very first actual long-distance train ride in all of her life.
Wow.
So that was really great.
In Egypt, we've been there since 1905, like I mentioned, and we have quite a few churches. And Brother Hight, I believe you were able to visit 7 churches. Is that correct?
That's correct. The day after we arrived in Egypt, we went on a train about 6 hours to the south, which is Upper Egypt. So you go up south when you're in Egypt. And we visited 5 churches there. I preached in 2 of them and found really a vibrant church, people who love the Lord, who are serving the Lord, churches that are growing, pastors who are really doing the work of ministry and of church building.
If you look on the Herald cover,
we happen to have one right here.
He's prepared.
Absolutely.
This is Brother Saeed Ibrahim. And Brother Hight, I believe you probably traveled with Brother Saeed most of your trip.
Brother Saeed went with us to Upper Egypt on the train. He was a very congenial host. We stayed in the guest room in the church that he pastors in Cairo. So we were with him there. We were with him all of our time in Upper Egypt. We were with him in a pastor's retreat in the northern part of Egypt. So yes, spent quite a bit of time with Brother Saeed.
And before we close today, I just thought I'd ask you, everybody always wants to know about food or something interesting on the mission field. Could you give us just something different about Egypt to our listeners?
Well, I don't know how different this would be, but everywhere you go, you drink hot tea. Whether you're in someone's home for a 10-minute visit, or if you're there for services and a meal afterwards, whether it's with a meal or just a short visit, they always serve tea. On the train, they serve tea. Everywhere you go, you get tea. So that was one of the things. My wife said she drank more tea in 10 days than she's drunk in probably 10 years before we went to Egypt. They serve a lot of chicken. And we enjoyed that. One of the things that we teased each other about was what we called T&C for every meal, and that was tomatoes and cucumbers. They had tomatoes and cucumbers for breakfast, for lunch, for supper, and supper is often at 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. So a lot of T&C along with hot tea, and that made for very interesting meals while we were there.
Well, tune back in again next time, and we'll share a little bit more about Brother Hight's trip to Egypt, about Prayer Mountain, and one of the classes he taught at the Bible Institute.